Is right now the worst time ever to buy a home in the United States? Well, first let's take a look at what the data says, and then I'll share with you my opinion. First, let's take a look at this chart, which is the Home Purchase Sentiment Index. This goes back to 2011, and as you can see, sentiment at that time was at rock bottom. In other words, during 2011, most people thought it was the absolute worst time to buy a home. Now, if you remember anything about the years 2010, 11, 12, possibly one of the best times, maybe in history, to buy a home in the United States. So clearly most people were wrong about the housing market then, which makes sense. Right off the backs of a housing crash, a recession, the great financial crisis, most people would think, probably shouldn't buy something that just lost everybody a ton of money. Turns out though, that was a contrarian indicator at the time. But is this sentiment index always a contrarian indicator? Well, let's fast forward to the peak of this index, which happened in 2019, when most people, more than at any other time since this data was recorded, thought it was a great time to buy a house in the United States. Truth is, 2019 was actually a great time to buy a house in the United States. And all we have to do is take a look at the median sale price of houses sold in the United States to verify that these were indeed good times to buy homes. And by the way, we are looking at a chart of the median home sale price, not the mean or the average, because median is the middle one. So it's not going to get skewed by some of the house prices that are, $10 million, $20 million, whereas the average will. So median is going to represent more of a typical reality across the nation for most people. We're also looking at sale prices. We're not looking at prices that homes were listed for sale. We're just looking at actual transactions that took place. So you can see right here, 2011, when most people thought it was the worst time to buy, was one of the best times to buy because home prices skyrocketed from there. We can also see 2019, where most people thought it was a great time to buy. Well, they were right. Home prices skyrocketed from there. Now, if we take a look at 2022, we can see the Home Purchase Sentiment Index. People thought it was, again, a terrible time to buy. And the median sale price on average from the peak in 2022 has come down a bit, but mostly since the beginning of 2022, it's been volatile and moved sideways, which means that this sentiment index in 2022 did not provide either a contrarian signal or a correct signal, because home prices have basically just moved sideways since then. And where we're sitting now is historically low in terms of more people than on average for the last 15 years think that it's a bad time to buy a house right now than they have for the last 15 years. But it's definitely not at rock bottom lows like it was in 2023 and prior to 2012.